So hi everyone and welcome back to the next video of the tips and tricks lecture. This video is a lot of fun because in this video I want to share my favorite gimmicks and gadgets with you that I find useful for remote teaching and training sessions. So I selected 3 different gimmicks. One is a presenter, one is my Streamdeck, and the third one is a pretty useful gimmick which is called the surface dial, which helps us to make quick selections and stuff like that. But before we go into a more detailed discussion, here is a brief disclaimer. So these gimmicks are just a random selection of stuff that I find useful. There is no paid advertising behind, and it's not a buying suggestion because I did not conduct a benchmark test or something else. These are just randomly selected tools that came across my way and I find particularly useful. So good, let's start with the first one, which is the presenter. So probably you're using a presenter in on-site trainings with a laser pointer or something like that. And of course, in a remote session, the laser pointer doesn't work anymore. So what we do very often is either we are using the mouse, which is kind of a mouse cursor. But when we use PowerPoint, we also can use the laser pointer, which works a little bit better. The problem here is only that this laser pointer only works in Microsoft PowerPoint. So if you want to show something in another tool, like, I don't know, you're working with source code or something else, then you still have to go back to the mouse cursor. And this is where the Logitech Spotlight presenter comes into place. Because this presenter it's a remote gadget. It looks like this or on the picture. And it doesn't use a mouse pointer. Rather, it uses some on-screen projection, like this laser pointer here. And basically, it works by tracking the movement of the presenter. So you also can see it in a remote session, and no matter which program you're using to present. And what I like very much about the Logitech Spotlight is that you do not only have a laser pointer, but you also can switch between something like this highlight functionality. You can also make it stick like that, so I can leave it in that case, and we all know what we're talking about. And besides the laser pointer and the highlight function, there is a third option, which is a magnifier glass. So you can also use this magnifier here to highlight something that is maybe in a small text or some source code or whatever. So this is a pretty useful thing, I have to say, which I use on a daily basis. The configuration of this tool is done with a small app from Logitech. Let me show you. It's called Logitech Presentation. And in this Logitech Presentation, basically you can access a timer function. So then your presenter will start vibrating when the timer is off. You can select different types of pointer which you want to have, like the highlight, the magnifier, and the laser pointer we have seen. And you can configure them. For example, if you want to have a color, you can increase or decrease the size. And you also can enable some cursor control, which, for example, helps you if you want to click on something, then you can use the presenter as well. So here, for example, I'm just resizing the magnifier, and we can see the effect that the magnifier glass now is a little bit smaller, and it helps us to magnify what we want to show. So this tool, again, is pretty comfortable, and I'm using it on a daily basis, basically. The next favorite tool here is my Elgato Streamdeck, which basically is something like a programmable keyboard. And the basic idea is that you attach this one to your computer, and then you can configure all the individual buttons here. They are basically illuminated with an LCD, so you can select individual icons and stuff like that. And then, for example, you can use the individual buttons to trigger a scene, to open a program, to go into black mode, or whatever comes to your mind. And to show you how this is done, let me open my Streamdeck software here. And this is basically something very nice, because this this is a live replication of what I actually see on my Streamdeck. So I can, for example, I can use this button, which is called black, and it basically triggers one action, which means it triggers a black screen, and so I can move it to any place that I want, or I can create the new scene very easily. So I'm just selecting here, for example, from OBS Studio, make it big again, I choose the scene function, I drag it over there, give it a title, my title, and here I can select my my scene collection. Actually, I'm using the recordings collection, and I could decide which scene I want to use. For example, let's take the drawing scene. And now I already have a new button on my Streamdeck. And just to demonstrate, if I push it now on my Streamdeck, then the scene is switched, and we are seeing now my drawing scene. So this is pretty easy and pretty comfortable as well. So let me switch back to my Streamdeck. And what we also can see here is that we have the possibility to create different folders. So for example, if I go to the top level, then you can see that I created different scenes for a university and for the company. And I named them meeting, lecture, and recording. And so for example, this is my scene collection that I use for recording. This would be my scene collection that I use for lecturing. And so you can create easily what you want. And this is one of the features, or one of the tools that I'm also using on a daily basis, not only during a lecture or during a recording, because you also can put some quick functions there, like shortcuts or multi-actions, to trigger your favorite programs or whatever comes to your mind. So yeah, this is the Streamdeck, something that makes our training live or recording live in a remote session much easier. And the last one of my favorite gimmicks that I want to present is the Surface Dial. And this Surface Dial is basically a product from Microsoft, from the Surface series, and it gives you a context-sensitive choice of input. So for example, if I'm clicking my Surface Dial right now while I'm here in PowerPoint, oops, I didn't want to go back, let's go back again, this direction. So then you see that this menu goes up, and I can switch between scrolling. If I enable it, then I can scroll back or forward on the slides, which I use pretty often. And something also useful is the zoom function. So here you can, for example, you can zoom into a slide if you want to see the picture, if you want to magnify the picture like that. And also you can zoom outside, so you get the slide selection, and you can select to which slide you basically want to go. This is what we're using during the, let me go back to my Surface Dial here. This is what is very helpful during presentation, but the real value, in my opinion, becomes visible when we go into drawing. So if I move over to my drawing scene again, so here you can see that this is already the menu of the Surface Dial, and I can select, for example, the different the pen option, like there it's in blue already. And here I can switch between maybe, I don't know, between maybe the diameter of the pen that I want to draw. I can switch the opacity. I can select the roundness of my pen and the angle, which I prefer. And of course, I can also use it to select my colors. So on the right side here, you see my color swatch. And here I can choose between RGB, the hue, and everything else that I want to do. So this is maybe something that's useful if you're working on a surface and with touch screens, but I'm using it on a daily basis, so I wanted to share this one for you. Okay, so let's go back to my presentation screen and bring it to a summary. So all these different gimmicks and gadgets, and this is just a selection that I presented to you, well, let's say sometimes they make life easier, like the Streamdeck that makes your life really easier, because just with the fingertips you can change the scene. Sometimes, yeah, they are just fun, you know, toys for boys, and sometimes, and that's the best case, they are both. So they are fun and also useful. And well, so I have to say, I really love my job. I love doing lectures, I love doing trainings, and so it's also a lot of fun for me to experiment with all these gadgets and to play around and to improve the quality of the lectures. So the basic hints here that I would like to share with you is observe your trainings, identify issues that may occur, something that brings you off track or something like that, and search for the web if someone already had an idea. And I have to say, cool stuff is out there, so keep an eye open. And again, maybe you also like it playing around, and that's the best possible situation. So then, see you in the next video where we are closing the tips and tricks lecture for technical aspects, and I hope you enjoyed it so far. See you there.